Hello everyone, it's Christine back for another episode of our Stitch Along, and we're still on blanket stitch but doing lots of interesting variations. And so today we're going to be doing the scalloped blanket stitch. And so I've already made a start on it because I was a little bit confused by the book's instructions, which told me to start in the middle of one of the scallop features. And I just couldn't quite work out why you would do that, because the instructions didn't then kind of touch on then how you went back and filled the other directions. So I just wanted to see if it would work fine if I started at the start of one scallop and just continued along. So that's why I've done the first scallop there. But before we get to that, the way that I've created my little scallop template is I use the end of a roll of thread, but you could use anything that's the right sort of roundness that you need, or the right size. I guess it's all going to be round. And what I did was just found a round shape that was bigger than my circle, and then just sort of slid it down from where my circle was. And then just drew a line and then lined up the next line and the next line either side. So it's just not drawing even a full half circle, just a partial, a bit less than a half circle. And once I'd done that, I then did a straight line down on either end, and then just drew sort of with a bit of distance an underline line. So I've got the upper and the lower line making that scalloped shape, and I just use the friction marker for that. But you could also freehand it. I'm just not very good at freehanding things. So I'm using this wonderful Perle cotton EZM 1019. So it's just got nice colour variation in it, which I thought might be nice for that sort of ombre effect. So you'll be starting yours at whatever end you want to start at, but let's say you're starting at that end. You'll just pop through at the bottom of the scallop with your needle. Pull your thread through. You'll then want to hold your thread off to the side with your thumb, take your needle up to the top of your scallop, and bring your needle down to the bottom, straight down. So you want to get that sort of that straight line effect. I think I'm just dodging where my knot was because I don't want to catch my knot. And so you're then going to pull your thread through, and you're going to get that little knotting. That's what we want, because that's the little blanket stitch knot. Now you want to do your stitches nice and close together, so you're getting that sort of continuously filled in effect. So my next one, I'm just going to come down a little bit where I, from the top, because you want that to be the highest point, that first stitch that I did. And again, just popping through, always making sure that the thread is over here, so you're getting that knotting effect. And then again, just following that top template line and the bottom line. Almost sort of worn out, and I almost need to redraw my template a little bit there. I'll actually just do that briefly because it'll just help me out when I'm trying to do what I do. Just have that template just like that, and then just coming down. Just help me keep it straight. And so I did start doing this in the hoop, but I think it's easier for me just doing it out of the hoop. So I hope you're having a great day or a great evening. A big shout out to the lovely Tess, who's suggested a range of other blanket stitches that we might want to have a look at. And I've already had a look at a few of them, and I think they would be great to add to our little blanket stitch panel, or an additional panel if you need to. So I think tomorrow we're going to do the honeycomb stitch filling, which is a form of blanket stitch. Because that one looked particularly good. So I'll have to work out where I do that, whether I do start another little bit of fabric or keep doing it on this bit of fabric. So you're just wanting to always make sure you're going sort of straight up and down, which can be hard when you're working on a sort of a curved, you lose your sort of directional sense sometimes if you're moving your fabric around a bit. Now I've had an amazing response to my other video where I put or promoted and spoke about the exciting stitching swap that the lovely Annie Claxton, Arty Farty Annie, had shared as an idea, and I've just had an amazing response from all my lovely watchers and subscribers. So I am going to be super busy stitching for that. My mind is whirring. I've actually woken up the last 2 nights with my mind just absolutely whirring away. But it's going to be such a lovely way to celebrate some of the friendships that I found on here, and that sense of community. That's why I just really love it. But the other morning when my mind was whirring, I was awake at 1:30 in the morning. I'd been sort of just tossing and turning. Normally I'm a really good sleeper. I go to bed and I'm out to it, but I'd been tossing and turning. My skin was kind of itchy. I was just not having a restful night of it. Anyway, 1:30 in the morning, I just rolled over in bed going, okay, I'll try this side, see if I can get to sleep. And the bed started shaking, and I'm like, did I just roll over really vigorously? But no, it was an earthquake. So I know some of you are probably in very earthquake prone areas, and you might have really large earthquakes. This was a 4.61, I think. So not, and it was a reasonable distance. I mean, the area that we're in, it was closer to us than it was to sort of other parts of Melbourne. But yeah, it definitely gave a good shake. But I think Travis the dog slept through it, which is amazing. Because after it had happened, I sort of got up, partially because I hadn't been sleeping, but I thought, no, I'll go and check if Travis is fine. But there was no noise coming from where he was sleeping, so I thought I'll let him keep sleeping. Alex wake up from it as well. But yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. Wasn't expecting an earthquake, but they are getting more frequent because apparently the plates, I think the tectonic plates that we're on, they're getting pressure on them as the plates move. But hopefully they just stay the small ones that don't do damage and that don't cause loss of life. So I don't think in Australia we even have an earthquake warning system. I was reading other countries do, and I think they were saying even the process of trying to put one in place in Australia would be quite challenging financially and potentially technically as well. I'm not sure of all of the ins and outs of that yet, but I'm sure there's good minds on the job. And I suppose it has to kind of be weighed up as that, what's the likelihood and risk and impact associated with potential events as to whether that investment or all that infrastructure is required. But I suppose the risk and the impact can change over time too. Because growing up we just never, I don't have a recollection growing up of ever having earthquakes in Melbourne. But we've had a number over the past years. It's quite a rattly one during the working day. I can't remember, was it a year ago? I might have lost track of time. But I was working from home and the house just, started. I was upstairs and the house is just, really vigorously shaking. Thankfully no damage, but there were some parts of Melbourne that got damaged. Some walls came down and things. We just keep doing this stitch where we're coming through from the top and down to the bottom and creating that little notch. And when we had that earlier earthquake during the day, my partner and I, our first reaction was just to run outside, but we know that's not the right thing to do. You're actually meant to, shelter under, I believe, under a heavy-duty table or under in a door frame. But yeah, it's kind of your gut instinct says, oh, I need to get outside. I need to get outside of the building. But then you're at risk that if the building comes down, it's coming down on you. So just making sure when you're coming through from the top that you are coming straight down, and that you're getting your stitches nice and close to each other. So what have you been up to this weekend? For those of you in my sort of time zone, when this is showing, it will be Sunday night, I think. But for some of you, your Sunday will just be beginning or will be in train. But yes, I'm going to have to get stitching up a storm with all those lovely stitchery swaps to get ready for. As I say, got lots of ideas, got a bit of a plan, a little bit of a plan, because I've got some elements and things that I want to incorporate in them. And yeah, just going to be such a lovely celebration of stitchy friendships. I might have done that a little bit wonky. Let's just see if it's all going to look fine. Yep, I think that's fine once I flatten it out. Better. Okay, now where's my line? It's almost disappeared there as well, but I think I'll be able to follow it. I do like using the variegated thread. You kind of get that nice surprise as the colours change. It's good when you have the threads where the change happens relatively sort of quickly, because otherwise when you're doing small designs you might just not get enough of that variation to justify using the variegated thread. This uses a decent amount of thread because you're doing all these close over sort of filling stitches, I guess. So this would be lovely as a border, and in fact in the book they talk about actually putting it on backing and then cutting it. And sorry, I just bumped the camera before, so apologies for that. But I'm not going to cut these ones out. And to the extent possible, I try not to use sort of backings and things in my pieces. They're often quite hard to stitch through. So this will be a bit of a longer video, not ridiculously long, but hopefully giving us enough time in our little live chat to have some good conversation. So for those that haven't found it, when the premiere is playing, which I put to play at 10 o'clock of an evening here in Melbourne, but different times obviously around the world, but it will be the equivalent of that time in whatever your time zone is. There's a live chat function just below the sort of the premiere video. So if you're watching while it's playing at that time, you can join the live chat. Otherwise, you can join the regular comments. But we have a nice little crew that jumps on most evenings. And yeah, we have lovely little chats. So please feel free to join us. It's just so nice for me to kind of, get to chat to some of the folks that are out there stitching along, or even just watching or thinking about stitching along. I just love for you to join, and love for you to have the benefit of meeting the lovely folks. I call them lovelies because they are. They're all just such lovely folks. I just do feel so fortunate to have stumbled into this community of stitchy people who really are the very best people. I stand by that. If anyone tries to convince me otherwise, they're going to have to make a pretty good argument, because I don't think you'd find a nicer sort of internet community, really. So I read all the time about how vicious people can be in comments and how unkind, and I'm talking here about general internet. Like, there's just so much nastiness and unnecessary comments. That whole thing of, like, if you do not have something nice to say, just don't say it at all. But I just haven't found that at all in this community. There's just encouragement and kindness. And I guess people always have that freedom, right? If they don't want to watch it, if it's not their sort of thing, then they can switch it off and move on to something else. It's not like it's the only thing available to people. So yeah, like, I must admit, there's YouTube videos I put on, and some of them just aren't my cup of tea. Like, I really do like the ones where I can connect to people and their stories, and I guess I'm not here just to learn the techniques. I kind of want to have that sense of who the person is behind the camera. So I like those particular types of videos. But for other people, they might just want to have a very straight to the point, here's the stitch and that's it, and over in a minute and done. And I respect that. It's everyone can find what they want, but there's no need. Like, I'd never leave a comment on one of the videos that I'm choosing not to watch. I just choose not to watch it, and that's all. I just wish more people were like the people that I've met here. I think if we were all, if we were the population, it would be a very kind and encouraging place for everybody. Maybe it's because slow stitch just makes us really, really zen. Gives us that reflective time. So we reflect on what good behaviour to other humans is and what non-good behaviour looks like. And we do the good, and we don't do the stuff that hurts people's feelings and doesn't actually add anything positive to the world. I'm actually, once I've finished filming this video, I'm going to be heading over to Martha's channel, Martha Managross, who's been doing her amazing flags of kindness and hope and joy and all the good things, basically. So head over and check those out, because there's some great videos there, and I haven't had the chance to catch up much this week with her videos. Okay, so we are at the end. So the final stitch is always your sort of higher stitch, and then you just take it to the back where you've come down, and I'll just tie it off, and then we can have a look at the front. There we go. And of course I haven't got my tiny embroidery they're somewhere under a pile of thread, so I'm going to use my giant fabric scissors, which is totally unwarranted. Oops. So that is our ombre scallop blanket stitch. Pretty happy with that, I think. Tiny bit bodgy in places, but that's pretty good. And I do think I've got a little train vibe happening, or a little circus train, I'm not sure. So I'll have to have a think where I'm going to put these other amazing stitches that Tess has shared. So the one stitches that she has suggested that she is adding to hers, which we might look at doing, is whipped blanket stitch, German knotted blanket stitch, rosette of thorns, blanket stitch filling, honeycomb stitch filling, buttonhole filling, and sunwheel stitch. So I'll have to investigate all those, but I think for tomorrow we will be doing honeycomb stitch filling. So I'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching again. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.